So this article, Seeking Security in Turbulent Times by Hugh Mackay, is about the way that when our sense of belonging or the group sense of belonging starts to change really rapidly, it can cause fear and panic and cause us to feel really uncertain and try to figure out exactly what it is that makes people belong and try to exclude other people. So the first thing that we notice is the use of alliteration in the title, Seeking Security, and then Turbulent Times. We have emphasis, of course, on the security and the turbulent. So security is about belonging. It's about our sense of belonging. We feel secure when we belong. They're almost synonyms. Whereas turbulent is about panic, is about uncertainty and anxiety. Okay, so we have a lot of fear and chaos words throughout the article, and also a lot of belonging words. So those two things kind of being used together but juxtaposed as well. So here we have anxiety as well, chronic anxiety. So here Hugh Mackay is asking, what does this overwhelming support for anti-terrorism laws reveal about the Australian community? He's asking, what does it show about what it means to belong to Australia, our willingness to so readily take up quite strict laws? And then this word us here. Okay, so he's trying to make the reader belong to the article. We know that's part of our study of belonging. Do we feel we belong to the text? Well, in this article, he's trying to get us to belong using one of those feature article techniques. He's addressing the reader and he's using personal pronouns, collective pronouns, us. He's including us in there. So if we move down here, we have this use of alliteration, okay? So we're talking about this time, so 2005 is when the article was written, and it's talking about it being a turbulent time for us and it's taken its toll. So we're emphasizing the fear and the impact. Taking its toll is the impact of this changing sense of belonging, all these big changes that have happened over the last century or so. Because what Hugh Mackay is saying is that anti-terrorism laws aren't about terrorists that much. They're also about all the uncertainty we've been feeling for about a century of all these social changes and the changes of what it means to belong to our society. So these are some of the changes that he gives as examples of how our society's changed. So he says, the gender revolution has transformed our patterns of marriage and divorce. The birth rates have plummeted and our households have shrunk. The combined impact of globalization and the IT revolution has exerted increased pressure on our working lives, and the restructuring of the economy has created a culture of job insecurity. Okay, so he's talking about insecurity here as well, but he's talking about all the different things that have changed over this time. Again, here he tells us more things that have changed. We've begun to see ourselves as a different kind of society from the one we used to be. More media-driven, more drug-saturated, more commercialised, more competitive, less egalitarian, more closely engaged with age, and more multicultural. Now, what you'll notice about these sentences is they're short and sharp. Phrases anyway. So more media-driven, more drug-saturated, more commercialised, and the repetition of the word more as well, okay? So it's like this increasing, just as the pace, that rhythm, the short phrases creates an accelerating rhythm, so does that repetition of the word more. It's accelerating, which sounds like fear and chaos when we're starting to panic about things. So he's showing us that panic through his text and really emphasizing how much our society is panicking. Then we have a rhetorical question here. So again, trying to get the reader to belong to the text. Okay, we know that rhetorical questions are trying to include the reader and persuade them and make them agree. So we have our uneasiness in the face of these upheavals is reflected in our skyrocketing consumption of tranquilizers, antidepressants, our escape into relentless materialism. Again, we have those short, sharp sentences for the things we're trying to use to combat change. Okay, so just like the changes are panicking us, then we're panicking when we're trying to solve the problems in the changes because we don't know how to belong anymore. And so we use all these things. We're trying to combat the changes in belonging. Down here, we're talking about moving away from public debate. So we're no longer trying to decide what we think is belonging. We are just letting the government make the rules. Okay, that's your job. You make the rules now. We're letting other people make strict rules about who belongs and who doesn't. Down here it says anxiety is about belonging and not terrorism. That's my note on this, okay? Because what he's saying is, the point is that the present climate, so this panic, is created by an epidemic of anxiety that predates international terrorism. So it's not just about terrorism. It's not caused by terrorism, this anxiety. It's caused by this rapid change in our society. So we move to the next page. We have the terrorist threat actually gives some focus to our underlying sense of insecurity. So we're concerned about belonging. It's our sense of insecurity. The terrorist threat just gives us something to focus on. Okay, so now we're focused on terrorism. Terrorism's our target when we're talking about our insecurity about belonging. Down here, we're talking about seeking to control the changes in belonging. We're trying to control who belongs and who doesn't because it's changed so rapidly that we can't keep up. So we're trying to control the changes. And how are we doing that? Well, down here as well, we have mandatory sentencing, censorship, rules and regulations to cover the behaviour of everybody, anti-vilification laws, anti-smoking, dog walking. So we're excluding people and we're persecuting people. We know that persecuting means like witch hunting, which, hey, like my pun for the crucible. Again, here, short sentences and the exclamation marks, it's panic. And also the exclamation marks and the short sentences here sound like it's just panicked reactions. The reactions aren't thought through. We're not thinking through our ideas. We're just talking like anti-vilification laws, we'll do this, we'll do that. Okay, we're panicking about it. Here, alliteration. Law and order has become a mesmeric mantra. It's mesmerizing. Law and order, we're obsessed with controlling belonging. This is this imagery about it being mesmerizing and hypnotizing. And a mantra is like something you repeat over and over and it becomes like a crazy cult-like philosophy to control belonging and how it changes. Moral panic, we know, is a fear word, and it's about fear of change. It's about fear of how our society is deteriorating. And we see them all the time, moral panics, about pretty much everything. And then we also have this question about, are we sacrificing too many of our freedoms in the name of social control? So this pull-push between freedom and control and between belonging to yourself. So that's freedom and belonging to the group. So the group has control. And that kind of, this is talking about, should we really be giving the group this much control? And should we be thinking it's more important to belong to a group than to belong to ourselves and have some freedom? Abandoning is just one example I pulled out of emotive language. So there's lots of emotive language, which is trying to make us belong to the text and feel with the text. Down here, we mistrust our neighbours and our sense of belonging to stable, cohesive communities is threatened. Our reflective cry for a more regulated environment is understandable, but it's dangerous. So he's saying that when our sense of belonging is uncertain, we seek rigid rules. We seek to control. We seek to exclude other people. We seek to redefine what it means to belong really stringently so that it will stop changing. And then there's the question, will ever tougher regulations make us feel safer? Will they actually heighten our fears? He's questioning the effect of rigid rules on our sense of belonging. Do they make us feel more secure, or do they actually make us feel less secure because the more rules we have, are they feeding our fear as opposed to telling us to get over it? Is it feeding it like, yeah, you're right, we've got to control this, it's crazy, it's mad. So how does it actually affect belonging? How does strict rules affect who belongs and who doesn't, and our sense of belonging and our sense of security in that? Down here as well, he's asking, why do we think we're going to be the target of terrorists? Like, we're a small country, small population. Why not all of these other countries? And it's because it's about our changing sense of belonging, and our uncertainty about that belonging creates the fear of the outside and the fear of anything that might challenge us as a group. So pretty much this whole article is about the way fear and panic is caused by anxiety about our own sense of belonging. Don't forget to do your whisk.